and thanks a lot for joining us today. My name is Jorge Alvarez, and I'm the CMO of SESAMm. We're very excited for our webinar today, where we'll discuss how AI technology can help detect potential controversies and risks in private companies. And today we're joined by Léo Shamash. He is the lead solutions engineer at SESAMm, and he will be our host today. Hello, Léo. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. So I'll dive straight into it. The idea today is to talk about how we can leverage AI, and to be precise, natural language processing, so NLP, and generative AI to detect risk and controversies on private equity companies. We'll touch on both the controversies and the technology that we can leverage. And so this is especially important for private equity, as on listed companies, it's often managed by analysts in a very manual way, and done often by rating agencies. But this is obviously limited and very difficult to scale in private companies. I wanted to start by saying a few words about who we are. So we're a startup company. We were created in 2014. We raised around 50 million, including a recent Series B with French VCs, and also with Carlyle. We're a team of around 100 people, mostly engineers, AI researchers, and data scientists. And our goal is to leverage AI in order to track ESG and risk insights from textual data from the web. We have a strong focus on ESG, but we also can work on other types of risk. So we have some clients that are interested in credit risk, for example. At SESAMm, we're an AI company, a technology company, but we also have developed a real ESG expertise. Our head of ESG, for example, is an ex-Vigeo, so Moody's. Our teams are spread out. Our headquarters are in France, with offices in Paris and Metz, but we have offices in New York, London, and Tokyo. I now wanted to touch on a few clients just to give you an idea of the landscape in which we operate. So our primary activity is the private equity space, and this is a sample of our public clients. There's quite a few that we cannot name. To give you some of the big names, we work with Warburg, with EQT, with Carlyle, and so we're working with both GPs and LPs. Another type of client is consultancy companies. So we work with ERM, so the largest ESG consulting firm in the world, and they leverage us in their due diligence reports, or as well with ETI Finance. So that's an ESG rating agency, and for them we track online controversies. What's important to note is that SESAMm is both a end solution, so a SaaS platform that allows funds to directly monitor their portfolio, perform due diligences, but we're also a technology enabler. So for these consultancy companies, they include us in their processes, and they use our technology to deliver reports. I just wanted to note also, we are starting to work in the corporate market, and so we see an emergence of interest from corporates who want to track their supply chain, so to be able to track, for example, human rights issues from a supplier in a foreign country. That's for an overview of the company. Let's dive down into the technology now. So to start off, I wanted to go a bit further on our data lake. So the idea is we collect we have around 20 billion documents in that data lake. That includes premium sources, so typically websites like the New York Times, Le Monde, for example, in France, but also local journals, local premium journals. And then we have a lot of publicly available information, so a lot of it web scrapped data. So that's going to be online news, blogs, NGO websites, corporate websites. And so all this is very relevant for us to be able to identify emerging accusations, and for companies to be able to know what's being said about a specific company. Our data lake is one of the largest in the web. for tracking ESG risk and controversies. To give you an idea, we have around 4 million sources of data, so online sources. And to compare this with traditional rating agencies, they would typically use around 20 or 30,000 sources, mostly premium publications, for their analysis work. And so this very broad coverage allows us to cover very deeply private companies, even very small companies, that probably aren't going to make the headlines of Bloomberg or the Financial Times. Just to give you an idea of the amount of data this represents, we collect 10 million pieces of data, of new data every day. And so to put this into perspective, if you're an analyst and you're able to read one article every second, it would take you 115 days to read 1 day of our data. We also archive that data, so we have 15 years history. And so that allows you to go back in time and really have a view of how a company's risk profile is evolving over time. So I'm spending quite a lot of time on this part, on the data lake, because it's a pretty important part for us. And especially in AI and generative AI, it's often difficult to find the actual source of information. And so what we do, and our goal here, is to link any emerging topic to the specific underlying article that's being discussed. And so we're going to deliver that specific article to our client so they can have full access to the article and all the articles related to an event. If we switch to the algorithm part now, broadly speaking, so as I said earlier, we're a firm that specializes in natural language processing, so analyzing and generating text. Natural language processing is a sub segment of AI, as we do the text part, but you can also do image analyzing, sound, etc. And with that, we overlap generative AI, and we use the part where we're generating text, so text generative AI. And so using both these technologies, we can really enhance our process. And I'll try and show you some of the process of how we really use these different AI models in our process in detecting controversies. We'll have a little look later on at some of the ways we access the data, mostly the dashboards, to really give you some real life examples of how the data is being used. I wanted to take you through this more technical part where we're going to have a look at the various processes that that happen internally from the point where we collect the data to the point where we alert a client that there's a new event on one of his portfolios, on one of his portfolio companies. So as you see here, we're using different models and large language models in various steps of this. The idea is we're going through a full filtering process where the massive amount of data injected into our data lake on a daily basis cannot be digested by the most advanced language models. So we're going to go through simpler, smaller language models that are going to help us keep only relevant information, and then be able to use at the very end the most advanced and largest models, such as GPT-4 at the current state. So we've been using large language models since 2015. One we've used that's an open source and that's been used quite vastly by the industry is BERT, so developed by Google. And this is a sort of early stage LLM that we fine-tuned for the specific tasks that we wanted. And one of these tasks is sentiment analysis. So we go through every text and we define if the article is positive, negative, and neutral. And this is going to be used in our risk analysis. Another part of the technology that we use in the early stage, so through in the data lake, and when we're going through that first part of the data, is named entity recognition. So the idea is when we're searching for a risk related to a company, we first have to identify if an article is talking about a specific company. to give you an example, Carlyle has recently acquired, a company called Jagex. So it's Jagex is a video game company, a British company that created RuneScape, for those of you who know about video games. And so Carlyle is currently in the process of selling this company. That's public information. And so what's difficult with this company is looking for the company, but also the various games and the different ways that those games are being called online. So Jagex is a fairly easy name. It's not very ambiguous. However, RuneScape is often abbreviated as RS, so the acronym, and that is going to be much more difficult to find online, as there might be various mentions of RS. So what we're going to do is use our named entity recognition that uses various techniques, such as similarity in context, to be able to identify when an article is specifically mentioning a company or its environment. So the games, the brands, the C-levels sometimes, etc., to really be able to identify. So this is quite a difficult task, and so we have various models here coming into play. After that, I wanted to go into the ESG knowledge. So we do use LLMs in that part as well, mostly for research. So we have a team of analysts who have been working around defining our specific taxonomy and framework. So using various compliance frameworks. And for this, so we've developed and we've been using foundational LLMs. So the ones you probably know, GPT, well, at the moment 3.5, GPT-4, Llama model as well. And this is assisting our researchers in creating a sort of full view of each specific topic. So we have, for example, fraud in the governance pillar, and we really want to define what fraud is and all the specific variants of fraud. Once we've now defined that an article is specifically talking about an ESG topic and a specific company, we go on to the heart of our work, which is controversy detection. So here we're going to use, again, various models to do various things. We're going to first start by clustering articles. So we're going to have 100 articles talking about a company, and we want to make sure and cluster together any article that is talking about the same thing. So the idea of regrouping here by using LLMs, so to cluster multilingual articles, to cluster any article relative to for example, the topic of fraud for a company, and keep them together. And that's going to allow us to not overweight the user with too many articles, and also really understand how impactful that article is being. So if it's being shared 50 times on a specific topic, that's probably very impactful for the company. And once we've done this clustering, we're going to assign an intensity score, so a score between 0 and 5. And so here it's kind of different. We're not going to use machine learning for this. We've actually got a decision tree that's very transparent, as we believe also in transparency in our process. And so our clients have a full vision on how the score is assigned. And this score is going to translate how impactful and how potentially material that article can be. And then the last stage, where we're using the most advanced LLMs, is the annotation stage. So here it's at the end of the pipe. There's only a few articles left, so we can use highly advanced models, so such as GPT-4, for example, and others. And here we're going to be eliminating any false positives that are left. We're going to be evaluating if the score assigned is at the right level. We're going to be summarizing the event before sharing it with the client. Very quickly before we go into a few examples, because that's the goal today, we cover various use cases. So we were talking about ESG controversies. We cover 90 sub-risks on this topic on the ESG, but we also cover positive events. So we cover also the 17 SDG goals. So we're looking at online how well received is the positive events of a company. And then we also are using this technology for scoring and benchmarking various companies between them. Right, we can go now straight to an example. So the idea here is to show you how that full process is then going to be received by a client and how they can analyze the data and really put that into their process and act on it. So we're going to look at a company called Glovo. Glovo is a food delivery company, a Spanish food delivery company that's been exposed to various controversies lately. And so we wanted to show you one and maybe analyze what's being said on this specific controversy. So here we're talking about anti-competitive practices from the company who faced a lot of legal action around this issue. So we see here firstly what the title and the source. So here it's an article from Press Digital, which seems to be a Spanish newspaper. We can see that the sentiment around this article is very negative. So this is our BERT model calculating the negative sentiment. 0.66 is the probability that this article is negative compared to low positive and low neutral probability. And then we have all the various controversy aspects that we were talking about. So Glovo, we were able to differentiate the fact that this is actually an article about the company. We were also able to link this to the specific risk, in this case governance, but also the sub-risks. So here we're talking about anti-competitive practices and corruption. So this automatic linking was done by large language models. The intensity score, this is our decision tree, so has considered this as a very high and very impactful event. And the number of articles, this cluster had 2 articles. So we see that 2 newspapers published an article about this specific event. And then we let the user read the full article, and that's where they can decide if they're going to act on it as an investor, or maybe communicate with the company to fix the issues. On the company, we can have directly a view on the different controversies and the different topics to which it is exposed. So it's good to have a profile of the company. In the case of Glovo, we see there's a high exposure to governance risk and very notably fraud as measurement crime, but also social issues, so employee relations, ethical standards, and the like. And last of all, we also see an evolution over time. So we can get to see trends on the company, and we see 2 big trends here for Glovo. So we see a lot of events with high intensity over the period of May, June till August 2021. So a period where there was a lot of controversy, and the same thing around August and September 2022. So we see that it's been highly exposed, but also on various periods for this company. I then wanted to switch on to a smaller company. The idea is also to give you really this view of coverage, and by looking at Luco, which is a insurance tech startup, French startup. And so this company has been exposed to various issues, and notably to liquidity issues, as it was highly in debt. And so for this very small company, we were able to identify articles here of risk for the company and directly notify the user. You see that we have various articles in multi-language. Though the company hasn't been highly exposed to very serious issues, they've had these liquidity issues that have been showed. Still for the sake of coverage, we wanted to show you one last example of a very small company. Here we're talking about an animal production company, so in the west of France. And so this is a small company, less than 50 employees, producing beef, who were attacked for issues around cruelty to animals by an NGO called L214. And in this, we've been able to detect environmental and governance issues. So one link to the court case and the fine, and also obviously the environmental side of it for animal cruelty. And what I wanted to show you here as well is that this article here is coming directly from the NGO's website. And so we're picking up on this data and able to notify clients. Great. So to sum up, we're able to leverage AI technology, which is NLP and generative AI, with a very large and broad data lake, so data from very local web sources, and this allows us to really cover very small private equity companies, and therefore generate risk indicators for our clients.
Thank you so much, Leo. We have a couple of questions from the audience, so I'm going to read the first one. How do you ensure fake news are filtered out from the controversies you detect?
Absolutely, that's an interesting question. So there's various ways that we do this, partly automated and partly manual. And when I say manual, it's we have, as I said, ESG expertise. So we go through annotation from large language models and then through the analysts, so the ESG expertise. And this allows us to eliminate anything that will be considered coming from very low quality websites, fake news websites as well. And so we have websites that are completely excluded from our scope of analysis. And then the automated way, we use various scorings. So each piece of text is analyzed by various language models, and they assign a score. And so that we eliminate very low scoring articles directly from the analysis as well. Very low score can come from bad grammar, bad syntax, it can various languages in the same text, etc. So a lot of things come into that. And this allows us to eliminate most of the fake news.
Perfect. Thank you so much. There's another question. Some companies use Google Trends to get alerts for specific topics. How is this technology different?
Absolutely. So, well, that's an interesting question as well. There's various things that are different, but so Google Trend is going to be looking at what's online. It's going to be biased by Google's algorithms, and it's going to be very limited as well. And it's not going to it's not going to have all the technology that I was saying. So named entity recognition, for example, is not going to be included in that. Sentiment analysis, and so direct understanding of which are the very negative articles will not be in that analysis. And also data won't be saved online, and so will disappear, whereas we have a point-in-time data lake.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Very helpful. So I think that's it. So thank you all for your participation today in the webinar, and special thanks for you, Leo, for your insights. If you're interested in learning more about SESAMm, please visit www.sesamm.com with double M. Thank you once again for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at future webinars. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.